All right, we're live. What's going on, Spence? How you doing, man?
Doing great, Cop. It's awesome to be on this channel, and it's great to speak with you, man. How is everything?
Going great, man. Going great. Listen, so before we get started, before we start talking about the Giants, so you have a YouTube channel that goes by Rover Sports.
Correct.
You want to talk a little bit about that channel for anybody that may not have seen that channel, or can you plug it to where they can go subscribe to it and talk a little bit about your channel? And I know that I've been on your channel before. I follow a lot of your content, and it's a, you know, you've got a good you just got some good content. You want to talk about it? Sorry.
It's all good, man. You know, I hope you can hear me good. And during this video, I might even go and can you hear me, Cop?
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, yeah. So I might even go into YouTube and watch myself doing this, which is cool. But, yeah, my channel, Rover Sports, what my channel is primarily about is it really breaks down a lot of NFL tape. So I look at Jimmy Garoppolo. I've looked at Davis Webb, all the games that he played in last year. So I'll break down NFL quarterback film. But then really my channel's about football talk. So I talked about the draft quarterbacks. I did a little mock draft on my page. And really it's New York Giants football. We have a lot of Niners fans, Bears fans. But my goal with my YouTube channel is to be a home for NFL fans to come and talk. But my main love is Giants football. They're my team. And it's, you know, the show is called Rover Sports because I like to talk about the NFL and the Giants, but I also like to rove to other topics. I'll talk about SEC football. I'll talk about the Big Ten, about Scott Frost, and really NBA playoffs, basketball, and football. But primarily, I'm NFL and a little bit of college football on my channel, Rover Sports.
Awesome. Now, I want to welcome everybody that's kind of slowly rolling in. What's up, Dylan? What's up, Eagles 01? Derek and Lolly Mack. Great to have you guys on. So, the most important thing you said, Spencer, and is you're a Giants fan. that's my favorite thing about you.
After that, you just went blank, you know?
I mean, everything else is whatever, but
everything else was gibberish. So
everything else is just whatever. But you have a great channel.
I will not be here, sir.
I have watched your stuff, and it, you know, if anybody's looking for, you know, just some other content, you're not biased by any means. You don't. You know, I might sometimes come off a little biased about the Giants, but you usually tell it like it is about other things. I know you really like Jimmy G, for example. So any 49er fans watching this, you know, you'll tell it like it is and whatnot. So that's what's really good about your channel. And you don't only talk about football, but you talk other sports as well. Not only just SEC, but sometimes you'll do basketball and other things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really cool now watching, you know, yourself on this video. But yeah, I'm not that biased. But of course, I want the Giants to win. I want the Eagles to get slaughtered every week. And I actually live near the Philadelphia area, so that makes it, you know, especially kind of a personal rivalry, is that everybody in my town kind of grew up, you know, Eagles football, and seeing them win, it was so sickening. So I'm definitely a little biased towards the Giants, but I'll definitely keep it real. I'll give the Eagles fans credit. I'll just, yeah, I definitely, I'll swallow pride and just kind of, yeah, I'm not totally smack talk all the time. That's not really my style, but, you know, if I have to, I can engage in that sort of thing.
All right, I just want to keep welcoming everybody that's coming rolling in. It's good to have you guys. So, Spence, let's get into it. I've watched your stuff. I got a little bit of beef with you, just a little bit, because I have watched your stuff, and I do take what you say as something that would be, you know, sometimes somebody says something, you're like, whatever, you know, I can't take him serious. But sometimes you listen to somebody and you're like, okay, I seriously will listen to this person because I think they know what they're talking about. You have said over the last couple months many different names at who you think the Giants are going to take at number 2. Many different names, and I you know, that's fine. I went back and forth on a few names, but where is your head at? Not only as I want to know as a fan, where are you? What are you thinking? And then as a just being take me to where you would be if you were actual GM of the Giants, or if you were just, and then take me to where you are as a fan. Where are you on either side?
Well, it's funny because, but Copizzle, like as a fan and as a GM, like those things would match up. You know, it depends like what I think David is going to do, what I think Dave is going to do. That's where like you kind of, you know, remove yourself from being the fan or the GM, or if I was the GM. And I got to give you a ton of credit, Copizzle. I even said this on my video today. The longest time ago, I think, when did you make your video about what the Giants will do at number 2? Was that 3 weeks ago?
No. When I was saying about, when I was talking about, we'll do whatever the opposite of what Cleveland will do.
Yeah, when it was
that was about a week ago. I think that was about roughly about a week, maybe a week and a half ago.
That was so impressive because I thought it would be Bradley Chubb at that time. I thought Saquon was completely eliminated from competition.
Now, Spence, I don't think you're wrong that it could possibly be Bradley Chubb. I don't think you're off on that. It's to me. Go ahead.
When they traded Jason, the buzz around Bradley Chubb was ridiculous. Every single mock draft was pegging Chubb. You know,
but I don't think the two go together. And the reason is because I think there's people. I think there's half of people. I think if you put 100 dudes in a room, I think half of them will say JPP's good. The other half will say he's not good. And I just happen to think that Jerry Reese thought JPP was good, and Dave Gettleman thought he was bad. That just was my opinion of JPP. I personally wanted JPP gone before they gave him the contract. When he came back and he played after the year after he got his contract, he actually played pretty good, surprised me. But the whole finger thing, really, I was done with. I just don't think Gettleman really saw JPP as somebody that would be successful in this new defense, with a new defensive coordinator that the Giants have got. But I didn't match up JPP being traded to Bradley Chubb just all of a sudden being the number 2 pick. I don't think you're off, because I have heard people say he is an option. I just don't think the Giants, I think they have a lesser need at DN than they do necessarily at running back or an offensive impact player.
Right. And the thing about Jason that you were talking about is, you know, he got that franchise tag, so he remained. And you know, I look at Pierre-Paul and the hand thing, and I don't know if it was worth the money either. It was a decent, you know, trade, I thought. But you look at Bradley Chubb, and you were just kind of mentioning his name. I think he can play in this James Bettcher 3-4 defense. Even James has said that he would tailor his defense to Bradley Chubb's ability. So I look at Chubb and he could potentially fit, but I guess I could say right now is I absolutely love Saquon Barkley. I think everybody around universally loves him. I know that Dave Gettleman's a huge fan of Saquon. And
let me ask you this, not to interrupt.
Sure.
You're in the Giants war room.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's went and said their turn. They said, Spence, you're the very last one. Your vote will be what we pick. Who are you taking?
I'm taking Saquon Barkley, and I'm not thinking twice about it.
Let me tell you something.
I cannot sign it fast enough.
Okay. Let me say that I am on the Barkley train as well. But here's what I'm nervous about. And I want to share this with you. And I just, as fans, I want us to ask ourselves if we are off or if we're okay. Okay, let's run down the games Barkley played last season.
Yes,
he had 217 carries. And I'm going to tell you what changed my opinion of Barkley, because if you watch my videos all last year, I was wanting the Giants to win. Everybody said tank for this kid in Penn State. But I'm going to tell you what changed my opinion of him after I get done talking about the stats real fast. So last year, 217 carries for 1,271 yards. He averaged about 6 yards a carry. He had 18 touchdowns. Now, if you look at his stats, majority of his yardage came against Akron. He had 172 against them for 14 carries. He had 211 yards against Iowa on 28 carries.
Yes.
He had 108 yards on 15 carries against Michigan. And he had 158 yards on 17 carries against Nebraska. Now, Nebraska, he had 3 TDs. Michigan, he had 2 TDs. Iowa, he had 1 TD. And then Akron, he had 2. But here's what makes me throw up a question mark.
Nebraska was trash.
Yeah, but here's what makes me throw up a question mark.
Yes.
20 attempts. On 20 attempts, he went for 56 yards against Indiana. That is not what I'm looking for. I don't know. That one scares me. Georgia State, he only had 10 carries for 47 yards, but it's only 10 carries, so obviously they didn't work him a whole lot there. Sure. Against Rutgers, 14 carries for only 35 yards. Maryland, 16 carries for 77 yards. You see what I'm saying here? There's a couple big games in there, but there's some duds in there too. Now, the Rutgers one, on the 14 carries for 35, he did score 2 TDs. Against Maryland, he scored 2 TDs. Indiana, he just had a terrible game against Indiana, 20 for 56. Now, let me tell you, let me finish what I'm saying here, and then I'll pass it along to you, because I think that this is what changed my opinion of him. In a world where we watch, the bowl games, there's been many kids, Fournette, McCaffrey. They said, I'm not playing in the bowl game. And I personally understand where they're coming from, right? You want to get that check. You want to get drafted. You want to make sure you don't want to get hurt in your bowl game. And then all of a sudden you don't get that big NFL contract, right? We understand that.
Right.
I like the fact that Barkley said he didn't give a damn and he was playing in his team's bowl game. And they played in the Fiesta Bowl. That's not the national championship game. Matter of fact, it was a decent. It was a December 30th game against Washington. He got 18 carries. He was punt returning in that game. He went for 137 yards on 2 TDs. Big game. Washington had a really good defense last year too.
Right. Chris Peterson.
That to me, I don't like that Fournette didn't play his bowl game. I didn't like that Christian McCaffrey didn't play his bowl game. I like that Barkley played his bowl game. That tells me there's a guy that wants to play football and he cares about his team. I mean, talk to me on that. I mean, don't you kind of agree with me on that? That's where I kind of changed my thought process on Barkley. I thought he was maybe just a little bit overrated, getting too much hype. But then when I saw him do something like that and then play the game, I mean, he played at a high level that game. That really turned my head on him.
Thing about Saquon is absolutely like living, kind of in the Philadelphia area. I mean, everything is Saquon Barkley mania all the time. And, the returning kicks is nice, but I don't know if he's going to be doing that.
No. He wouldn't be doing it with the Giants. I'm just saying I thought it was special that he was doing it in his team's bowl game, knowing that he potentially was going to be a top 5 pick. He could have easily told James Franklin, I'm not returning punts, dude.
Correct. And in every sport, we're kind of seeing this, even in the NBA with Kawhi Leonard just sitting out for money. But you talked about McCaffrey sitting out the Sun Bowl. Denzel Ward sat out the Cotton Bowl this year. I do like to see the kids play, but it's not a deal breaker at all for me, honestly, because Fournette and McCaffrey turned out great.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wouldn't kill me, and that's the thing. Like, it's not a deal breaker really with me at all. And what I'm going to say about Saquon is that every defender was tuned in to Saquon Barkley, because I believe that Penn State had that kid Godwin last year that played on the Tampa Bay Bucks. And in 2016, it was a more balanced attack under Joe Moorhead and with the Trace McSorley kid. So every defense is just dialed in to Saquon Barkley this season, meaning that they're putting 8 in the box against Barkley. So it's almost not even fair, or it's almost not even replicable to, what he'll be seeing in the NFL. And then Cop Pizzle, here's the other thing is if you check the best running back last year is Alvin Kamara. And you know what he did in Knoxville? He did almost nothing. Or he was okay. Jalen Hurd beat out freaking Kamara at Knoxville. So the point about Saquon is you saw the 40 time. You see how fast he is, how he's able to move laterally, how he's able to shed tacklers. And it's crazy, man. Every single scout thinks this guy's a slam dunk. And against Michigan, he could just take over a game. There's a couple of games when the guy just takes over the game.
So do you agree with me that if the Browns take Barkley, let's say at 1,
yes,
do you think that the Giants go Darnold at 2?
Do I think the Giants go Darnold?
Wait, let's say Barkley goes 1.
Yes.
What does the Giants do at 2?
What does Gettleman do?
What do you think?
I'll tell you what I would do, but I'll wait till after.
If you think that there should be a trade, we can dissect that if that's what.
Yeah, I'll tell you what I think we should do.
Okay.
I am avoid quarterback at all cost guy.
Okay.
I am in the Davis Webb fan club.
Okay.
Webb, everybody. I'm in the Webb fan club.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it makes me so mad, and I don't know where you stand on this, but everybody's saying Baker Mayfield is a #1 first-round draft pick this year. Everyone's saying it. Maybe he'll be one of the ones that fall. I'm not sure. But this guy was beat out by Davis Webb at Texas Tech. And nobody ever brings that up. Nobody. And I understand it was years ago, but it's like, dude, why would I? And I know there were some Giant fans at one point that were talking about drafting Baker Mayfield. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, these guys were on the same team at one point in their football careers, and Davis Webb was better than him. Now, to me, it's crazy that they don't ever see that. Now, they just assume, well, he's a third rounder. Being drafted in the 3rd round is still good. It's not awful. It's not like being drafted. I mean, if you think about it, Tom Brady was drafted in the 6th round.
Correct.
So, I mean, it's not terrible. Now, I will say this. What gives me pause on Davis Webb is who he was drafted by, Jerry Reese. I mean, so he makes me a little nervous. But I think that Pat Shurmur, look, he did a lot with Case Keenum in Minnesota.
Correct.
You're telling me that he can't massage on Davis Webb for a couple years with Eli at the starting spot, just massage on Davis, and by the time those 2 years are over with, that Eli, or 3 years, whatever Eli's got left in his tank, Davis Webb can't be a finished product under what we hope is a QB whisperer and Shurmur?
Damn sweet, man. I mean, you're kind of speaking my language about the Webb right now, Cop Pizzle. Because
so you're not with me on Barkley. I mean, not Barkley, but then you're not with me on Darnold at 2 if Barkley goes 1.
I'm not with you at all about Darnold. And to be completely honest with you, Cop Pizzle, that year at Texas Tech, Baker got hurt. And with Cliff Kingsbury, it's kind of a very cliquey kind of thing there in Lubbock. And Baker did have a much better college career than Davis Webb. And
yeah, I agree with that.
I will say this about Baker Mayfield. I think he's the best quarterback in this draft, hands down, because I think he's going to be very, very good. The thing is, I just don't think Baker Mayfield is coming to the Giants. And I just look at Davis Webb, and from an intangible standpoint, if you ever heard Webb speak, the guy is like a prophet in that he's incredibly mature. He's the most motivated athlete I've ever heard. And he just is really, really special. And to your point about Jerry Reese, he didn't even call Davis Webb. Like, Davis Webb didn't even recognize the Giants number. It was the most random pick ever. He thought Davis Webb saw the New York area code. He thought he was going to be a New York Jet. That's how out of left field the draft pick was. And really, I don't put any stock into last year about the Geno Smith, about McAdoo sitting Webb the entire preseason. I look at Webb. He has the arm strength to be compatible in this league, and I want to definitely give the guy an opportunity.
It looks too like that Webb has the same body type as like a Jared Goff, and I'm not saying Jared Goff is the next great best ever quarterback, but you see what I'm saying? I mean, if if the Giants, if you told a Giants fan right now, hey, you're going to have Jared Goff, a guy like him, behind Eli after Eli Manning, I don't think they'd be mad about that. You know, if he played at the level that like Jared Goff played last year. So,
yeah.
So okay, so you're no quarterback you don't want any quarterback.
Here's the other argument that people love to throw out, and this is the argument that a lot of people that don't know Giants football or just a lot of national dudes that'll throw these out, like Colin Cowherd. They think the Giants are like a complete train wreck.
I know. Where is that? Where is that? I don't understand. Is that just because OBJ just decides to do a little booger sugar with an Instagram model, and all of a sudden we got a train wreck for an organization? What are they talking about?
And the thing is, they think this is an 11-5 team, and the thing is, when you have Ben McAdoo is an evil dictator. He will destroy everything.
He was in over his head.
Let me ask you this. The Atlanta Falcons beat the LA Rams 2 years ago, 50-7. And that same LA Rams team with Todd Gurley this year, Todd Gurley was almost the dang MVP of the league because they actually had a head coach there.
Yes.
McAdoo is Jeff Fisher. We still have.
Hey, not only that, Jared Goff didn't even look like he could even play it in this league. And then all of a sudden, you get a good little coach, and all of a sudden he's the comeback player of the year. You know, I'm not saying that's what he won, but you get what I mean. Like all of a sudden he's a good quarterback.
And Cop, look at this defense.
I know they've got pieces. They have pieces. Look, I think Landon Collins last year had a little bit of a down year because he was trying to do too much. He's trying to fill for the moron Eli Apple out there. Janoris Jenkins and DRC, of course, DRC's gone, but them guys checked out a couple games. I mean, they checked out. Vernon
only suspended by the
Vernon wasn't even trying to get back on the field. He knew it was a train wreck when he was injured. You know, we've got a great defense tackle in Snacks. We've got other great pieces. Tomlinson is somebody who I think got no credit for how good he played at defensive tackle last year. Yeah. Obviously, we need to do. Obviously, we need to do something with our linebackers. We've already addressed it with Ogletree. I mean, my point being is this team can instantly go right back to being a good football team. There's no rebuilding going on here.
BJ Goodson can play. The Rams game, they literally quit.
Yeah, BJ Goodson can play. You're right.
In Tampa Bay, they had the game. The Eagles the thing was with the offense is that the defense was going right back on the field. It was hurry up. The offense was complete garbage. The defense just didn't. It just wasn't motivated. I mean, that Detroit game. By the time the Detroit game ended, I knew McAdoo was a failure. You know,
Okay, Spence, we got to keep our eyes forward here. We're looking in the rearview mirror. You're making my heart start beating too fast. I'm starting to think about last year. It's killing me.
Yeah,
where are we? Where are we at number 2?
Right.
If Barkley gets taken, where are we at number 2?
So if Barkley gets taken at number 2,
no, number 1. If Barkley gets taken, number 1,
taken at number 1, which I doubt will happen, but I might be entertaining a Buffalo Bills trade because they have a haul of great picks, and we can use some guards. We can use the Hernandez kid from UTEP. Sony Michel's a player. It's a very good running back class. So Buffalo will have a haul of options for us. Bradley Chubb, the one thing is, I don't know how good that Garrett is.
The thing about Buffalo is, though, I just want to mention that I don't want to go all the way back to 12. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm at 2. And if I go to 12, I know I can get 2 first rounders because I'd have one at 12 and 22.
Right.
I don't know if I want to go all the way back to 12 though. I want to make sure I get a top 5 player.
The second and the third, but okay. So what are the guys that you covet outside of the quarterback position in the top 5? What are some of the dudes you like?
Well, I really like Quentin Nelson, but you can't take a guard at 2, can you, Spence?
I love that he's a hometown kid.
Yeah. I mean, there's a guy, you're talking about a guy that you could put it right in there. He's going to be a 10-year Pro Bowl guard. And a guy like Eli, later stages in his career could really use some really nice offensive linemen to keep him upright, keep him healthy. But the opposite in me says, well, okay, we'll just go get a workhorse running back. Well, then just hand off the ball. That's going to take some pressure off Eli. So I really like Quentin Nelson, but you can't pick him at 2. And honestly, if the Giants were to take him, because I know Gettleman loves his hog mollies, I'm not going to be one of these guys that's going to cry. I think a majority of Giant fans would be totally pissed if Nelson was the pick at 2. I think they would be so mad. Personally, I think you could trade back to like 5 or 6, 7 or somewhere around there and still get Nelson if you wanted to do that and gain something in return. But I don't think you can get him at 2. It's too high.
Yeah.
I like Bradley Chubb as well because, there are some people that believe he's going to be better, or if not better, if as good, if not better than Von Miller. So there are those people. Would I love to have the great pass rush that we used to have? Then back when we had Strahan and OC and Justin Tuck, would I love to have that great pass rush? Absolutely. I mean, the pass rush, especially when you're talking about having to go against a guy like Carson Wentz twice a year. I mean, you got a guy like Carson Wentz. We need to put some pressure on him because he's a beast. He is. He's a beast. And you look at all the other great quarterbacks in the NFC. If we have any remotely ideas of going back to the Super Bowl anytime soon, you've got to get to some of these quarterbacks. I mean, you got to think that Aaron Rodgers is out there in the NFC. Matt Ryan's out there in the NFC. Jared Goff, Jimmy G. I mean, you can't think just inside of our division, but outside of our division, how are we going to get to the Super Bowl if we're not rushing the quarterback? A guy like Bradley Chubb is a game changer on defense, especially if you got Vernon out there. But
you're absolutely right. And Bradley Chubb, he's at least, if you're taking him that high, he's at least going to have to be a Justin Tuck, a difference maker for like 4 years, a Giants Hall of Fame member. And then you compare him with Vernon. So that's really the only other guy at 2 other than Barkley that I think's like even worthy of taking with that number 2 pick is maybe Bradley Chubb. And he's going to have to be exceptional. He's going to have to come onto the field, be a quick study, be a real starter. And with Eli Manning, I think it's still all in. I think you're still gunning for the division. You're still gunning for playoffs. So Bradley Chubb, I think he's a good kid, has great potential. He does have Von Miller-like qualities, so I wouldn't be bummed at all with that pick. And you're dead on about Nelson too. It's really high for a guard. You can get production later in that position.
And let me just say what about Darnold. And I'm with you. I actually think the Giants only like one quarterback, and I think it's Darnold. My thing is this. Obviously, Shermer and Gettleman, they've looked at the tape. They had to gone back and look at Davis Webb's college tape. Okay. Obviously, he didn't get any regular season action last year, but they had to have looked at his tape somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to think that they took that tape and they compared it with the prospects in the NFL draft. Okay. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, if Barkley goes 1, I have to think that they look at it and say, look, we're at 2. Darnold's still there. Maybe Rosen. Maybe Mayfield. Whoever. This guy's tape looks better than Webb's tape. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's the only reason why I still think there's a chance to take the QB. But personally, I'm kind of on this train with you where I think they still believe in Eli. I think Gettleman does. I think Gettleman watched Eli Manning's tape. The question I have, and I don't even know if I can answer, is how many years do we think that Eli has left? I mean, what does he legitimately have left in his tank, in your opinion?
I think that Eli legitimately has, of really playing at a high level, the complete and total maximum is 3 years and what I think is 2 years. And unfortunate, like I even watched like when Eli was reinstated versus the Cowboys, and now he had to go back to last year. But he really looked very fragile, almost like he was in a China case, and he's shoveling the ball out 5 yards, and that sizzle and pop. I mean, Gettleman says there's a lot of sizzle and pop, but Eli is going to have to be managed like Case Keenum, like his older brother was at the tail end. In the winter, he looked very fragile. I will say that about Eli. So I'm going to go 2 years with Eli Manning. I think he can manage the game. He'll make a couple big throws here and there.
I mean, here, it's hard for me to go off of last year because of Ereck Flowers. I mean, I just wonder what quarterback in the league would have been comfortable with Ereck Flowers as his left tackle.
And how about throwing 60 dang times?
Yeah, I hate it, Spence. Couldn't stand it. I don't need my
it was all dump offs. It didn't benefit Eli's play action deep ball. I mean,
I don't
hell of a deep ball.
I don't want my quarterback. I don't care how good my quarterback is. I don't care if he's Tom Brady. I don't care if he's Aaron Rodgers. I don't care who. I don't want him throwing 50 times a game. It's too much of a risk. I want him throwing that sweet spot from 25 to 35, at the most 35. I want my running back, who's my workhorse, I want him getting at least 20 carries. You know, that's what I want to see. I want Giants football back. We're talking about, we know the old Meadowlands, it's windy, the quarterback doesn't need to be thrown. I mean, if you think about it, the Giants' history doesn't have a lot of great quarterbacks. Eli Manning might be the greatest one of them all. I mean, and a lot of people that are Eagle fans, Cowboy fans, Redskin fans, they don't understand Eli Manning's greatness. Giant fans do. And the bottom line is, here's where I think he's got 3 years left. And I might be going 1 year too high on it. But here's what I know. I know that his brother was very healthy. Then he obviously had that weird neck injury where he lost some grip. I think Eli has taken really good care of his body. He's relatively stayed healthy throughout his career. Now he's had some injuries where it happened late in the year, and the last week of the season. He had that high, I think it was a high ankle sprain that 1 year, where it's very last week, and we weren't going to the playoffs, and so he didn't miss a game the next week. But the timing was right. He hasn't had any bad injuries, if you think about it. Now, obviously, could next year be the year that Eli has a bad injury? Sure. They all end up having something. Tom Brady had that 1 year where he had his, knee destroyed by, I think, that Kansas City Chiefs player. Yeah. It's happened to a lot of them. Even a guy like Joe Montana late in his career had many injuries at the very end. So it happens to older quarterbacks, where I think I'm on this thought process, though, where I think Eli's shown me enough that he's gonna last. I don't know if I want my quarterback to be 40, but I think that he can play 3 more years, Spence. I really do. I haven't seen any. I don't think I've seen any zip lost on his arm. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I've seen him. I can't say that the deep ball looked bad at all last year either.
Objectively speaking, though, that unfortunately I saw signs at the end of last year, just in those frigid temperature games, when you watch.
I think that has a lot to do with, maybe I'm being biased, but I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that who you throwing to.
And he was throwing too much.
You're throwing too much. I mean, let's face it, you only got so many fastballs in the arm every game. You're throwing into no-name receivers practically, and your offensive line is absolutely trashed. I mean, to me, this is the world that I'm kind of living in. If my quarterback has got a healthy OBJ, if he's got a healthy Sterling Shepard, a healthy Evan Ingram, and a healthy Barkley at running back, he's got an okay offensive line, a good enough offensive line to do the job. We obviously got not a brand spanking, but a new left tackle. If he can't do the job with that, that's where I start to say, okay, well, his time has passed. Right. It's hard for me to judge Eli last year, because I don't think that's what pissed me off about last year, because when he got benched, because I never thought it was ever his fault. And I wanted to be mad at Eli at some points last year, but there just were times where I was like, I can't be mad at him for that. It's not his fault. I don't see this as being the reason why this is happening. When Geno Smith is out there in Oakland running around in circles, pointing his finger to go deep, I'm sitting there thinking, what is my quarterback now? What has happened to my quarterback. I don't know who this guy is. And Eli was moving the ball just fine.
We're so accustomed. We love Eli Manning. And Eli, the thing about Eli, he's a big money player. He plays so well when the chips are on the line, when you need to have plays. I mean, that drive in Dallas in 07, I'll never forget it, man. I was lucky enough to actually be at the 2007 game with Romo and Jessica Simpson. He hits Toomer along the sideline to start the game. One of the great Giants games in history. R.W. McQuarters to the house. But Eli, the 2-minute drill that game was just incredible. He hit Tyree in the back of the end zone. He finished the drive. There's just so many classic Eli drives that he's just an incredible competitor. And that's what really separates him, I think, even from Rivers, is that his last drives are amazing. Even the Kevin Boss touchdown against New England in the regular season. Remember how incredible that was in 2011, Cop Pizzle?
He has so many. He has so many great moments. I mean, you could go on hours.
He takes chances. He's ballsy with the football. Yeah. And Case Keenum has no bigger arm than Eli. And the offense will finally be tailored around him. I will say this. You attended a game where the Eli Manning is getting old narrative. That's when it started to form a little bit in my head. And that was Giants-Eagles, when the Giants were going to enter the playoffs and they needed to beat the dang Eagles to win. And you were there at the game. You had guys.
Yeah, he spotted that day. That was the Thursday night game, and he spotted the Eagles 14 points.
But also that final drive was lifeless. Like there was almost no chance he was flailing the ball at the link, and there was no way that we were getting that thing in the end zone with him. But I think the product of McAdoo of not taking care of Eli Manning and the mainstream media. They are obsessed with OBJ statistics, so they will always point the blame at Eli Manning.
Well, I want to get your opinion on OBJ in just a second, but
yes,
before we do, so we're both around the. I think we both agree that 2 more years with Eli.
Correct.
I'm on the train where I think there could be a 3rd year there. I think eventually, if Davis Webb, whether it's Davis Webb or it's Sam Darnold, whoever the backup quarterback would be, that the noise of them wanting, there will be Giant fans that want something new. Hey, we want somebody else at quarterback. Or if things were going bad, obviously. If things are going good, everyone will be lovey-dovey on Eli. Of course, I think Eli has more supporters than he has doubters, but I think we're both on the 2 to 3. So,
yes.
What do you think? Now, I think the 34th pick is still somewhat a 1st-round pick. That's a good thing about picking number 2 is that you get to pick really early in the 2nd round. And to me, if you're in the top 35 in picks, maybe you could even maybe say top 40, you got an additional 1st-round pick. Is there anything in particular you think the Giants could go with right at 34 or even not even necessarily a player in mind, but just a position?
Yes. I mean, what I would like at number 34 is if somehow...
And let's assume that Barkley would be the guy at 2.
Okay, so if we get the running back, then I think that it should be the offensive tackle. I think not an offensive tackle. I think it should be like the guard. I love Willie Hernandez
I've heard him a lot.
UTEP, but I don't know if he will be there. So then you look at I still think that the offensive line, like we need to see if this Brett Jones kid can play. So for me, Cop Pizzle, it would be a guard at that spot, like Isaiah Wynn maybe from Georgia might slip out of the 1st round. I really love a linebacker that we're going to try to get in the 3rd round, and he's from Iowa, Josie Jewell. I don't know if you watch Jewell play at all, but he's a very good linebacker that I think we could possibly use. And then, I mean, I don't know where you're thinking, but I like Landon Collins. Darian Thompson is going to be in a competition at the safety position. Apple and Janoris, so the backside of the defense is still pretty good. I really like the defensive line. So I think I'm leaning guard or a tackle or a right tackle for sure. Like if Colton Miller from UCLA slips down, if McClinchy slips down, I think you could get a quality tackle at that spot as well.
I want to mention about Brett Jones real fast because I actually wasn't that mad when Richburg left. because I actually thought Brett Jones did fine playing center. Okay. I thought I wasn't mad about his performance last year coming in. I obviously expected the worst, and I didn't think it was that bad.
Well, there's 2 weak links. It's John Jerry and Ereck Flowers. Those are the
yes. Now let me say this, and I can't believe I'm going to say this. I'm going to say actually something good about Ereck Flowers. I thought Ereck Flowers, although he wasn't good last year, I thought he was better. I thought that was his best season. Now that's not saying much, Spence. We know this. I just don't think the guy can play left tackle. However, I'm going to throw you a curveball. I'm going to throw you a curveball on this, Spence. I think he can play right tackle. I do. I think he can play right tackle. If you think about it, maybe he's just one of these guys that can't do anything on the left side. But you put him on the right side, just maybe. The problem was when you draft the 10th overall pick, which what he was, you can't draft a right tackle at 10 overall. You draft a left tackle, not a right tackle, but a left tackle. So Jerry Reese and the organization, they were stubborn. They said he's got to be left tackle. Why? Because he was a 10th overall pick. You don't draft right tackles at 10. I think what's going to happen is he's going to move to right tackle. I think it will be a better and easier position. He won't have to face the more dominant pass rushers, and I think he'll be better there. But here's the thing. I'm with you on, I think it's going to be an offensive lineman right there at 34 because we've heard so much about Gettleman talking about his hog mollies. He loves that word, hog mollies.
He really
I've lived in the South my whole life. I don't even think I've even heard the term hog mollies until he started saying it.
It might be a Massachusetts.
Is that okay? I thought it was like a weird like farm Southern thing, but I guess it might be a Massachusetts thing. You might be right, but I'm all about it. Hog molly. I'm all about it. So
yeah, I'm all about things too.
I think that's what we would do in that position if they do Barkley. Now I will say this: if for whatever reason they don't draft Barkley at 2, I like Sonny Michel. I do.
Oh yeah,
I like him. I mean, this is a deep running back class. That's the only thing about drafting Barkley at 2 that stinks, is because I think there's an Alvin Kamara out there this year again. I think there's a I'm drawing a blank. Who was the running back for the Chiefs? Hunt. Kareem Hunt. Yeah. I think there's a
Cohen from the Bears.
Yeah, there's a Kareem Hunt out there, Cohen. There's those guys are out there in this draft. It's pretty deep. So you know, if Giant fans if there are Giant fans out there that are bummed because they'd really like to see the Giants get a running back. Which, by the way, I didn't hate what Wayne Gallman did last year. I really didn't. I think that he's just a number. He's not a number 1. I think he's a number 2. I think he's somebody who could do good in Pat Shermer's offense. But at the end of the day, if they don't draft Barkley, I think there's a spot right there at 34 that you could see a running back taken right there. I do. Now that would kind of go against, you know, my theory that Gettleman wants to get some offensive line help early in this draft, being at 34. Because if they don't go Barkley at 2, then I have to think that they might go Chubb or Darnold and then get the running back at 34. So now you're not getting a hog molly until like the 3rd round. I don't, you know what I'm saying? So, right. But I think in a perfect world, I think we would both say that we'd like to see Barkley on Thursday night and then come back early Friday night and get that offensive line help.
Correct.
And or vice versa. Now, I want to ask 2 more. Well, we're going to go to the receiver. We're going to have a couple more questions, and then we'll get ready to wrap this thing up. But
it is a tremendous running back class.
It's a great one. Yeah,
nice kid from LSU, Ronald Jones.
Yeah, guys. Yeah.
Ronald Jones from USC is like LaShawn McCoy. He's a home run hitter. His highlight tape is incredible tape. Rashad Penny out of San Diego State is a really good. It has great vision. He's just a yard muncher. It's a nice running back class, but I definitely think Saquon is the special jewel of the draft, and yeah, I mean, I think it's going to – I really see it being a guard for John Jerry. And I was going to ask you, do you think that Ereck Flowers, you think he could ever play guard because I think he has a dang good skill set to play guard.
I don't think he could play guard. That's just my opinion. I don't think his hands are fast enough. You know what I mean? Like, I know that sounds weird, but yeah. I just feel like I think he's meant to be a tackle, not meant to be a good left tackle. He's just not that. I'm going to tell you what, I think they're going to, I'm going to be on the train. And again, maybe I need to be sent to the pasture on this one because I need to give it up. But I'm a believer that when week 1 hits, Ereck Flowers will be your starting right tackle. And I don't think that that's a bad thing. And I have to think that Gettleman being so big on his hog mollies, I trust that our offensive line is going to be better next year. I just really do. And so whoever
is the scheme fit was horrendous with the hurry up. He is a big guy. His endurance is not great. He's slow. He gets winded all the time.
Yes.
In that hurry up off, he was so out of place. And then if you're going to sit him down and you're going to run the ball, he did do well in run blocking last year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think he had his best year last year. Now it's not. Again, it's not saying much.
If you could run block, protect the guy, get him in bet. You know what I mean? Like let him pass protect only a couple times. You know.
And the bottom line too is he's young. And I think he has some talent. I do. I'm not ready to give up on him. This is why I'm giving a pass to Eli Apple because he has talent. He's young. He's just got to fix it between the ears. Same thing with Ereck Flowers. You just need, there's no reason why you're that big, that strong, that fast, and you should be getting dominated like that. It's why I think a position change will do him good. A new scheme, a new philosophy. Just a fresh start would help him out. And if he gets right in that starting position, I think it's a confidence booster right away.
It's a clean slate.
It's a clean slate. Yes.
And the guy is going to get the opportunity. When you really look at this draft, I believe he's going to get the opportunity.
And if you're a Giants fan, I think you should root for Ereck Flowers. And here's why. Because most of the time we saw it with our left tackle that we just picked up. Tackles get paid. They get paid a lot of money if they're good, especially left tackles. Ereck Flowers, nobody's going to be knocking on the door to pick him up. Nobody. So the point being is if he's good, he can play the right tackle. We're going to be able to give him not a huge contract, and he can maintain, and he's not going to eat up a whole lot of cap space.
And you should. Freaking Newhouse is on the Raiders. I was shocked to see Newhouse somewhere. Big Marshall.
Because he didn't play good with the Giants.
No.
So let me. We're getting ready to. We're not too far wrapping this up. I want to talk about receivers real fast, which involves OBJ. When they cut Marshall, which by the way, I was so on board with cutting Marshall. Did you agree with that?
After the physical, Brandon was just mostly a distraction for the ball club. He really didn't do anything much. He was disappointing. Yeah. I don't think he had anything left in the tank. So yeah.
I think that tank is dry. Is running low, if not already dry. I know he didn't. I know he got hurt. I know this and that. But even when I did see him, I expected more. He just didn't seem like that big time player. So I didn't think either that by releasing Marshall that meant that we were going to go get Dez. It didn't mean anything. Because to me, I would much rather have a younger player rather than a vet that's got a little bit of wear and tear on him. So
and Marshall.
Don't you think that the Giants have kind of shown their cards a little bit that, hey, we're going to get a receiver at some point in this draft?
Yeah, I mean, like you look at Sterling, and he's a guy that I expected, a lot more from Sterling Shepard. That there are some receivers in this draft I certainly like in the third and fourth round.
I don't think Sterling's an outside receiver, though.
So you think he's just a slot guy?
I think he's a slot guy. But the thing about it is, and we'll see what Shermer does. OBJ is so tough when you put him in the slot. I mean, he's so dynamic when you say Sterling, go out to the outside real fast because we're going to put OBJ here in the slot. But I think Sterling's a slot receiver. I think that's where he can get his bread and butter. So that kind of tells me that we need to be out on the outside with somebody else, if not somebody that we already have in house.
Pizzle, there's a lot of college kids where you are going to be drafting the receiver in the third or fourth round. You're either going to get a jump ball specialist, like primarily a red zone guy that is like almost utilized specifically for the red zone, like a 6'5" Alan Lazard from Iowa State. But the kids I do like are the burners. The QT kid from Texas Tech, even Anthony Miller, who played at Memphis, was fantastic.
Yes.
And I love Miller, and he was just great with Memphis. And, in the third round, you could maybe see the Giants plucking a guy, but it's hard to get number ones. And this receiving class is so weak as it is. It's not very deep. They're even talking about Christian Kirk only being a slot guy. So the thing that's so interesting about Des Bryant is, I'm going to just say this. He kind of reminds me, he does kind of have similar problems to that of Odell Beckham. You know what I mean when I look at Des Bryant, in that he's kind of a controversial figure, and I knew Dave Gettleman was not bringing him in already.
Well,
I'm at that position.
The reason why I bring up the receiver position, because I think all Giant fans, we're trying to get a read on what Gettleman might do. So I went back and I looked at some of Carolina's draft picks, and I noticed that the one common trend that Gettleman had outside of drafting Curtis Samuel for the Panthers, a lot of the receivers that he drafted were big, physical receivers. Kelvin Benjamin,
right?
Devin Funches, guys like that, almost kind of like that Plaxico Burress, if you will.
Right.
So I keep trying to think that if he does go out and get a receiver, I think it's going to be a big physical guy. I could see that. And if you remember, and I'm just trying to be sneaky here a little bit, Spencer, if you remember, Eli had a ton of success when he had a big receiver like Plaxico Burress. And ever since the last few years, Jerry Reese and this front office have drafted smaller receivers, OBJ, Sterling Shepard.
Yeah.
The list goes on and on.
Roger Lewis.
And I always was like, where's our big physical?
You know why? Because there was nothing physical about that dog, man. It was sissy football.
It's always upset
football. It was Big 12 football on grass.
It's always upset me because Eli is known to throw the ball up. That's what I love about him. He's willing to take chances sometimes.
Correct.
Brett Favre, all these years he's a riverboat gambler. He's a gunslinger. He does the same thing that Eli does.
That's what Nick's was perfect as well, to your point.
Yeah, but my point being is they never, ever went and got him. Yeah, now Nick's you could make on that list of being big and physical, but they never went out and got that Plaxico Burress guy to replace him. And that's what always frustrates. So I actually think Gettleman, I could see him going out and getting a big receiver this year, and being one that Giants could fall in love with, come training camp. I don't know who that guy would be. I don't know where they would take him. Maybe we get a surprise, right early in the second round. Maybe we see third round, but I could see that happening. But staying on the subject of receiver, where are you? And this will be our last topic. Where are you standing on? I think you and I are kind of on the same page if I've kind of followed your channel correctly. Talk about OBJ. What are your feelings on him? Not only as a fan, maybe if you were a front office guy, just give me what your thoughts are on OBJ.
The thing is, when I look at a lot of receivers, Scott Pizzle, that play in this NFL, I mean, you could find diamonds everywhere. Like even a 4th round guy or a 5th round guy. Like just look at the teams last year. I know you had the Eagles that had decent receivers, but the Patriots, the Jacksonville Jaguars have guys like D.D. Westbrook and the Cole receiver. You know, the Buffalo Bills trade Sammy Watkins. They don't miss a beat. They get into the playoffs with Zay Jones and Charles Clay and a bunch of no-name receivers. So the point is that you can have successful receivers in this league. You can plug and play. There's so much talent at the position. And with Odell Beckham, I've been tired about him wanting to be the highest paid receiver. He is a talented guy. But the bottom line was everything has started to add up. And with that video with the Coke, the Miami boat trip, the kicking net situation, when you look at Giants football, it's built on discipline. And that's part of why I am so happy to have Dave Gettleman back, because he's a no BS guy. And he's not going to let guys get away with those type of shenanigans that Odell Beckham was getting away with in the past. So with Odell, I would just maybe franchise him. The Giants are going to need to have a lot of success this year for Odell to stay around. He could be a very, successful receiver, but Odell has also stated that he wants to be one of the best of all time. He's always hanging out with rock stars. I really do believe Odell Beckham is a lot about individual accolades and not a lot about the team accolades. And when you have an aging quarterback like Eli Manning, you're sometimes going to have to do it wide receiver by committee, and you might not be putting up incredible stats where if he went to a younger quarterback's team, he would maybe be the guy and could put up the stats that he would want for his Hall of Fame case. So that's kind of how I look at the guy, right?
I mean, imagine, and what some Giant fans don't realize, imagine if we had a rookie quarterback right now with OBJ as his receiver. I mean, he might kill the kid. You know what I'm saying? Like, he might mentally destroy him with his antics on the sidelines.
Oh, damn straight. I think he really ran Coughlin out. I think that whole thing with Coughlin is kind of what made Coughlin realize this younger generation, I don't know if this is for me anymore.
I think that the one thing that bothered me the most was the boat trip thing. That bothered me so much. I don't even – the booger sugar with the Instagram model, that doesn't – I mean, I'm kind of whatever. I really don't want my star receiver doing that. But at the same time, everybody, I understand, whatever. Having a good time, whatever. I get all that. But, I mean, LT did it, and he did fine, whatever.
Correct.
The whole punching a wall at Lambeau, I don't like. The whole the boat trip thing.
The Norman fight was absolutely ridiculous. He acted like a petulant child. He was out of control. He took away from that entire game.
That game didn't even feel like a football game. It felt like a UFC fight. It was like I'm not even watching football. I'm watching two kids just slap each other in the face. And it was silly.
And as a corner, that's kind of what you're supposed to do. So Josh was instigating him properly.
I'm nervous. That's probably I'm nervous about two things. I'm nervous about the Giants, what they do with the number 2 pick, and I'm nervous about the contract that they will potentially, I think, give OBJ. I'm really nervous about that because
yes, the thing I wanted to just say, sorry to cut you off, is that Odell Beckham, he just has such a huge distraction, and some of it's even out of his control. I mean, the media. The mainstream media that you have to watch on FS1 and whatever, the Skips and the Colin Cowards and Shannons, they're talking about Odell every day, how he's so wildly talented, how the Giants can't get him the football. I'm the guy, I don't really care how much your stats look like. I just want to get W's. And, you look at the Giants wide receivers of past years, it was Amani Toomer, it was Plexico, Akeem Nicks, pretty quiet personality guys.
I don't care if my receiver is being talked about on that show either. I mean, it's like OBJ is slowly becoming the LeBron James of the NFL, just the most talked about player, constantly covered. It's gonna. I'm afraid that this season could be, if the Giants are slipping, if they start out, I don't know, a couple losses. What's wrong with OBJ? Why is OBJ not doing this? And then, then it puts a whole lot of pressure on him. Then his antics go even more extreme.
And Eli and the coaching staff.
Yeah, because they have to put up with it. I mean,
just get him the football, and he has to run block.
Ultimately, too, I just still don't think OBJ, after all these years, and of course he's not been in the league a whole long time, but I don't think he yet has figured out how to be a pro yet, how to be a professional football player. He knows how to be a football player. He knows how to do great plays. He knows how to win games. He knows how to do this and that. He just doesn't know how to be a pro yet, a real Chris Carter-like pro. Mm-hmm. You know, Randy Moss had his antics. You know, but I think he's went beyond what I wish OBJ would do the moon thing. Just moon him. Moon Lambeau Field for all I care. You know, that's not doing coke. Or at least not seeing me do coke. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's different. Randy
conversation all the time as a Giants fan. And if you could just get kind of like have, you know, middle tier wide receivers, you will never be talking about Odell Beckham again.
T.O. I wish OBJ was doing push-ups in his driveway like T.O. That's a lot better.
T.O. also divided teams, man.
I know. I'm just saying that my point being is
the boat trip before the playoff game. I mean, Randy Moss, those guys are real competitors. You know,
yeah, they're real.
Those guys.
You're exactly right. They're real competitors that understand that it's all about what you do on the field, not off the field. And personally, I think what's happened here is OBJ is more about what's going off the field than rather on the field. You know, he wants to be at the NBA All-Star Game front row. He wants to be at this fashion show. He wants to be this. He wants to be that. I just want you to be the receiver for the New York Football Giants. That's all I want you to be. And I want you to just give the best effort that you can possibly give, which I think he has done. Look, I was in New Jersey when they played the Cowboys last year, not this past season, but last year. I watched him single-handedly beat the Dallas Cowboys. Giants won 10-7 that day on an unbelievable play by Odell Beckham. I've watched him not only that game, but multiple games. He's won games for the Giants. Yeah. So I'm appreciative for those games. But it's getting to the point now. I need to see you win a playoff game, OBJ. And I understand it's game of football, which, you know, it's not just one guy. But if he wants to really start cementing his legacy of who he is and all this and that, I didn't believe for 1 minute the Giants were actively trading him. I just didn't believe it. Now, am I nervous that he could be on another team and we get nothing for him? Absolutely. I mean, that would just stink. But I do think the Giants are going to give him a big contract. Gettleman has said in the past, you don't give up on young, good talent. So I don't think they're going to give up on him. I think that this coaching staff, this front office now, fresh start, I think they're going to want to get their hands on him and see if they can mold him the way they think he should be. I think the previous staff failed in doing so, and I think this staff says, well, he's too talented, and we want our shot at him.
No, I certainly, understand that. I understand that viewpoint of Odell Beckham, and it's tough to police the guy having fun, enjoying himself on Instagram. This modern technology in this day we live in, it does not help guys like Odell Beckham. And then you look just north of us, and Antonio Brown, he's very active on Twitter, and not a lot of guys are giving him, problems. He's really succeeding on the field, but I just don't like flashy wide receivers.
Antonio Brown.
I think that the value of flashy wide receivers, I'd rather have a well-oiled offense, a bunch of selfless guys, and Odell has really acted selfish throughout, and I don't really see that changing. I mean, but I hope I am wrong. I hope he succeeds, the team buys in, and just wins some games.
Just speaking of Antonio Brown, I mean, he went on Dancing with the Stars. That's very me-ish, if you will, but it doesn't bother anything as long as you come and bring your A game on the field. And Antonio Brown has in the past. I mean, he gives it his all in those Bengals games. The man's going out there getting concussed, giving everything he's got for the Steelers. And I'm not saying I want OBJ being, laying on the field lifeless. Because he gave it his. But my point is bring that energy, bring all that stuff, putting it on the field for the Giants.
And there's a lot of other receivers out there like Hopkins and Julio Jones, especially Julio Jones is just, kind of a quiet professional. There's wide receivers that are tremendous character guys. And I believe maybe that Odell can become that. Another point that's kind of frustrating is that I feel like there's a whole younger group of Giants fans that are just Odell Beckham fans. And they're not really traditional Giants fans.
All they got is 1-3 jerseys on. That's all they got.
Ask them about Jeremy Shockey, or you were going to ask them about Armstead and Strahan and Ike Hilliard and all the guys from the past and Ron Dane and Tiki Barber, they'd really have no idea. And that's the thing is that, everybody's selling Odell jerseys. Everything's about Odell. Mm-hmm. And sometimes as a Giants fan, it's a little frustrating to just focus on one guy so often. But, I mean, the Maras are making a ton of money off this guy. And he's not the traditional Giants player. He's very – flamboyant, and he's fun for the kids to root for. So there's a lot that Odell brings to the table.
I loved having well-dressed Amani Toomer as my receiver. Loved it. He always came. I mean, look, was he the best receiver in the league? No, but he was a professional. He dressed professionally, and he played professionally. I mean, he just did everything that you want to see a professional receiver do. And didn't act crazy or nutty or whatever. He just played good football, and he was there for Eli when Eli needed him. Made some big catches in some playoff games and helped us win a Super Bowl. So that's where I am with OBJ. I just want him to be a professional. He has an amazing talent. I just wish he would just cut all the antics out. And what I'm really afraid of is that contract that they could potentially give him. I mean, are they going to give him? Here's the thing. I got creamed by Giant fans on Twitter one day because I said that I want my receiver to be Julio Jones. And I'm not saying the size. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if I'm going to have to pay a receiver a stack of cash, I want him to be Julio Jones type player. Mm-hmm. And then these Giant fans, which I love my Giant fans, they're more than welcome to have a disagreement with me. They want to tell me, well, how many touchdowns did Julio Jones have? In which the answer was that Beckham's has had more touchdowns over the last few years than Julio Jones. Fine, whatever. OBJ, when he's hot, he's a TD. He's a TD making machine. There's no question about it. I always try to get him on my fantasy team. And, the point being is, I get what OBJ brings. My problem is OBJ hasn't.
House calls all the time.
Yeah, but he hasn't. He's only played one full year without being. He's only played one full year of 16 games. There was 1 year that OBJ played 15 games, so you can maybe count 2. His first year with the Giants, if you remember, he missed the very first start of the season. Everybody was waiting to see what he would be like when he get on the field with Cruz, and then this past season he practically missed the whole year. I don't even know if the guy can play a full season.
And the catch just skyrocketed him into another hemisphere.
Yes.
Chris Collins.
It was a great catch. It was a great catch, and I'm glad he did it against the Cowboys. But Cowboy fans love to remind me that who won the game.
They did.
And the Cowboys did. But it's a great catch. He's a special talent. He's an amazing athlete. I'm just nervous about the contract, right? Right, Spence? I mean, you have to be.
I am so worried about him. And this is just me, honestly. I just would personally look to trade him. I've always been on that boat, honestly, with trying to trade Odell. I know he could be a talent, but you could find other receivers. And if he goes out and does great, receivers don't really win in the NFL. It's about, the running game. It's about so many other aspects, the tight end play. Evan Ingram's going to be a great tight end. Sterling Shepard. We're going to get a tremendous running back. Just locking him up for that much money. It takes away from so many other things. So
it's like you said, even if we are going to get a tremendous running back, I think even if they don't get Barkley, they're going to get a tremendous running back. Whether it's a Sony Michel, whether it's a Jones, whether it's many of the other guys you mentioned, they're going to get a good running back. I think that they're on target to get one. But do you think that OBJ, if he got a contract, would you think that it would be before the season started, like maybe somewhere around training camp, or do you think that they would call his bluff and say, "Look, you're playing on your last year, and then we'll lock you up at the end of the year"? What do you think they would do there?
I think that they might even tag him like Landry. I don't think that Gettleman is going to be a guy that's going to succumb to the star power whatsoever. He's been around. He saw what Josh Norman is like. He's a guy that'll cut you in a second. He's not a player's general manager. So I'd be very surprised actually to see a deal done before the training camp period. I think that this entire year, it might be a franchise tag next year. I really do for the New York Giants. I don't think there's going to be any contract from Dave. That's just me.
Okay. So, and then last thing. So you're on board with me, Barkley at 2.
Yes.
And if it's not Barkley, it's going to be
Bradley Chubb.
Well,
yes, and no quarterback. I think it could. What the Giants really could do is I think they are going to like Sam Darnold a lot. There's a chance that the Browns take Josh Allen. What I was going to say is, Josh Rosen, his personality just irks me, and I just don't want any quarterback. I made that clear. But to me, yes, it's Saquon number 1. Definitely Saquon Barkley. Do it, sign it,
let me ask. So before we go, what was the one quarterback if you said the Giants had to get one of them, which one was you on board with?
Which one would I take?
Yes.
If I had to take a quarterback, it would be actually Baker Mayfield. I think Baker's the best one of the bunch. I just know that they probably will not do that. And then you just look at Rose and just his personality, interests other than football. You heard that. That's code for being distracted.
I am interested in this QB draft to see. And of course, it's going to be a lot about what team they go to, but it will be fun to see in 3 or 4 years now which of these quarterbacks was the guy. Who was the best one out of this bunch. It will be fun to watch and see which one.
Absolutely, and Josh Allen, and there's a couple of guys coming that I think are sensational, that are going to be sensational players, like the kid from Alabama, Tua, that was in the national championship game. It would be a tougher decision if you had like a Marcus Mariota or like a Tua, but all these guys have their fair share of issues.
Well, that's one thing that I mentioned to some Giant fans too, where it's like, we got to get a quarterback right now. And I understand that the Giants may not draft in this position again. Who knows? Hopefully we don't, because if we do, that means we had a bad season. But this is not the last group of quarterbacks that college football is going to make. They're going to bake up and cook up some more good quarterbacks next year, the following year after that, the following year after that. These are not the last batch of quarterbacks you're ever going to see come out of college. So I understand the whole idea of get one, but if you don't like him, if you don't like that guy, if you don't like that player, you don't have to take him at 2. Get the player you really want, which I think the Giants really do want Barkley. If they don't take Barkley, if Barkley's there and they don't take him, I'm not going to be mad. I just want the Giants to get the guy that they want, whoever that may be. I hope the Browns take somebody that they don't want and the Giants get their shot at their guy. Just like at 34, I hope the Giants get the guy that that they would really like to have.
Yeah, David Gettleman even said, 28 seconds, he's turning in that card. It's going to be a decisive draft. I really cannot wait for it. I'm really excited, to see what the Giants are going to manage to do. And like you said, there's future drafts to fix the position, but it's a win-now team. It's an impressive team. It's a team with a lot of talent. The division's very gettable, I think, this year, and I'm ready to make a run with the Giants this year.
I hate the narrative that some fans on try to tell Giant fans that this Giants team is rebuilding. They couldn't be further from the truth. They were beat up last year. They took some injuries, and ultimately the ship started to sink when McAdoo was clearly in over his head. I don't believe this narrative of now the only way that the Giants don't turn it around. I'm not saying the Giants are going to go out and go 12-4 next year. I mean, I know you mentioned, I didn't plan on talking about this, but I know you got in touch with me and you thought the schedule was a little brutal. I don't think the schedule's as bad as you think it is. I have a little bit more confidence. I don't think it's so brutal, but I think the Giants can put together a decent little season and make a run at it. I don't know. I'm not going to be one of these guys Maybe I will. I'll talk myself into it if they draft Barkley, but I don't know if they're going to make a run at the NFC East title. But knowing me, when the time start kicking the tires, I know that I'll probably will say that they can win the NFC East.
Yes,
especially I'll be right there with them. But my thing is, I think this Giants team just needs a little bit, infuse a little bit of talent. Go out and get a guy, whether it's Chubb, whether it's Barkley, whatever. Go out and get a guy. Go out and get a real good player at 34. Bring in a whole new philosophy. I'm sure it's going to take a little bit of time. I like the fact that they're starting at home week 1, by the way, because if they were on the road, new coaching staff, that could be a little tough. But you're going to be at home. That crowd's going to be wild against Jacksonville. I can't wait for week 1. I hope we got a great player. I hope we get a good player on Thursday.
Enough. And that Jacksonville game, that Jackson. I'm not scared of Blake Bortles.
No, I'm not scared of Jacksonville.
That offense.
I'm not scared. I'm not
Jacksonville. One playoff team, the Buffalo Bills.
I'm not afraid of the Cowboys. So if you're just talking about the first 2 weeks, I mean, you start 2-0. Of course, I'm not ready to talk about that because I got to see who we're going to draft. But if you start that's how you kick-start your season. Obviously, if you start 0-2, it gives a lot of challenges and this and that.
Yeah. But I mean, going to Texas too straight, I think Deshaun Watson will be problematic. That's a team we don't see a lot.
Yeah, it will be. It will be. I mentioned that the other day.
We can always compete. I fully expect us to compete there. Play really well, have a chance.
I do think that game will be problematic. I did mention that in the other when I went live for the schedule reveal that I thought that game would be a little bit problematic. Just because, you don't see him a whole lot, and I think Watson is going to be a special player at quarterback. But so, do you want to mention before we go? Do you want to mention any kind of upcoming videos that you might be making? And again, plug your channel for everyone that can go and can sub you up.
Sure. So my channel is Rover Sports, Rover Sports, and I talk Giants football. I talk all types of NFL ball, and this week I'm going to be doing a lot of live draft reactions. I'm also going to be previewing, what teams should do in the NFL for the upcoming draft. I'll be down in Orlando, a couple YouTubers, and I hope to hop on your show as well, live from the draft to, get some live reactions. And it's finally here, Cop. I'm so excited, man. Enough of speculation, your head spinning and everything. It's time to get down to the draft. And yeah, man, I just thanks so much for having me.
I never, ever want the Giants to draft at number 2 ever single. I don't care. I want to die an old man and say that I only ever saw them draft in the number 2 spot one time in my life. I don't ever want to do this again.
It was a brutal year.
It was a brutal year.
It is the worst. I'm so glad we're having the Eagles win it all was almost just as
it was far. Yes. I mean, I would have that was just an awful cherry on top.
It's almost like we did something wrong, Cop, and like God was punishing us, football gods. Yeah. I almost questioned what I was doing with my life. It was one of the worst overall years, but the Wicked Witch is dead. Ben is gone, so that's what's for me.
I completely agree. It's like I started to think that I was cursed. What did I do wrong? What did I mess up?
Man. Hey.
Let me mention this real fast. I will be going live for the draft. I'm going to do a solo thing first, and then after the Giants make their pick, I'm going to do a Google Hangout where I'm going to bring in other Giant fans. And we're going to debate how the draft's going, and obviously the Giants pick. So I'm going to invite a bunch of other Giant fans on for a Google Hangout after the Giants have made their number 2 selection. It's going to be really, really great. Spence, I really appreciate you coming on. I really appreciate you stopping by and chatting with me. It's a lot of fun. I'm going to try to get some more Giant fans this week to do a little chat with me about the draft. But this was a lot of fun, and let's just hope that the Giants can start something, a nice future, and start it on Thursday.
Correct. Amen, Cop.
I mean, let's just start something great on Thursday.
Here's to that, man. It's going to be a beautiful ride with Gettleman, and I can't wait, Cop. Thanks again.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you to everyone for joining us and hanging out with us and chatting with us. And I'll be coming back on with more content here shortly. Y'all go out and subscribe to Spence's channel, Rover Sports, on YouTube. He's not, for those that are the trash talking circle, he's not a trash talker. He likes just talking about others, NBA and obviously NFL, breaking stuff down. He's much more of an analyst, if you will, a good analyst. Not so much trash talker. But thanks again for joining me, Spence.
I'll see you.